Hello everyone, welcome to the daily editorial analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Today 29th October 2024. Displayed here are the articles that we are going to discuss. The first article, Solar, a game changer in women's empowerment. This editorial article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. This article is talking about how the solar energy contributed to women empowerment, particularly in the rural India, and how the decentralized power generation will create opportunities and socio-economic development. And the second news article, Adopt Multilateralism to Reshape the Financial System. This article is taken from the newspaper LiveMint. This article is talking about the importance of reducing dependence on US dollar-based global exchange and how we can promote the local currency through multilateral cooperation. So without much delay, let's begin our discussion. Look at this newspaper article taken from Indian Express, Solar, a game changer in women's empowerment. This newspaper article is talking about how the solar energy contributed to women empowerment and how the decentralization of power generation will lead to job opportunities and socio-economic changes. So let us discuss more about this from the mains point of view. Before that, we have a mains question here. The question is, discuss the role of solar energy in empowering marginalized communities and promoting gender equality in India. Highlight the challenges associated with the scalability and sustainability of solar power initiatives and suggest measures to overcome these challenges. So with this question, we will move to our discussion. First, we are going to see the importance of solar in societal change. The solar energy can change the society through decentralization, through increasing accessibility to the solar energy. So the decentralization of the solar energy will enable local power generation, which will eventually reduce the community's dependence on extensive power grid. And the decentralization will also support self-reliance, especially in the rural and remote area, which lacks consistent connection to electricity. And through installation of rooftop solar system, it will provide affordable and clean energy for every individual household in India, which eventually promote energy democracy, which is very essential in the time of increasing demand of energy, even in the rural area. The second importance of the solar energy is job creation and economic growth. The solar industry has been estimated as a significant creator of jobs in both India and global level, and as per the estimation, it created around 4.9 million jobs in India. And women plays a significant role in the workforce, especially in the rural area solar project, which will make them economically independent and will also increase their social status. And the solar, considering the rising demand of the energy, the solar industry also has a potential future. Because of the increasing demand for the energy, there will be a potential job creation in the upcoming time. And the another role of the decentralization of the solar energy will be the empowerment of marginalized communities through providing affordable energy, which eventually improves their health, safety, and it will also provide stable income, especially to the farming communities in India. For example, switching to the solar pumps will reduce the dependence of salt farmers in diesel generators, which will eventually boost their income. And also we can see certain initiatives like Barefoot College will train rural women as solar engineers, and which will provide them opportunities in the remote and rural areas of India. Just like we said, it will eventually make them economically independent and boost their social status. Increasing the solar source of energy will also make significant benefit in the environment and also will ensure sustainability, and that through reduced carbon emission, which will support the climate goals, and it will reduce the air pollution, and that will ultimately lead to reduced risk of health concerns. And even in the case of rural India, the decentralization of solar energy, for example, replacing the traditional source of energy with the off-grid solar will reduce the dependence of rural communities in polluting energy sources like kerosene lamps. This will have significant positive impact in their lifestyle as well as in their health. Now we discussed what are the benefits of solar energy and how it is contributing to the societal change, but it has its own sets of challenges. For example, high initial cost. Installation of the solar panels are highly costly. At the same time, maintaining them are also very costly. Therefore, the first challenge is initial high cost, and the second challenge is intermittent supply. For example, the solar energy is depending on weather time. Solar energy is depending on weather and the time of the day, which will make them less reliable than the fossil fuel. And the next major challenge is space requirements. For example, to create intensive solar energy, we need that much extensive land. Therefore, installation of an extensive solar grid will lead to land use conflicts. So this is the next major challenge. And therefore, to overcome this challenge, we need proper planning. How we are going to implement the solar grid and on what amount of energy is required for that particular region. So without proper planning, we cannot overcome this challenge. And the next challenge is technological limitation, which limits the storage of solar solar equipments like battery, and in certain times there will be a less supply of solar batteries, which will hurdle the production of solar energy. And the final or the major challenge is policy and regulatory hurdles. That includes lack of supportive policies, which will eventually lead to slow adoption of solar energy in major parts of India. We saw the challenges in implementing the solar power. So let us discuss what can be done or what are the steps can be taken to overcome these challenges. First step can be providing incentives and subsidies. Through incentives and subsidies, we can reduce the cost of installation of the solar panels. And the second one is investment in the research and development. It will improve the solar efficiency, and in over period of time, it has high possibility to reduce the cost of solar installation. And the third step can be infrastructure development. For example, buildings, smart grids for enhanced solar integration. And this can increase the efficiency of the present solar power generation. And the next step, it is a significant step, that is public awareness campaign, which will be very useful in overcoming the hesitation of the people to adopt the solar based technologies. And finally, we have the private sector collaboration. Through the private sector collaboration, we can increase the efficiency, we can promote innovation, and also we can increase the accessibility to the solar power. So in this topic, we discussed what is the importance of solar energy in societal change and what are the challenges in it and how we can overcome that. So with this, we are moving to the next topic. Look at this newspaper article taken from LiveMint: Adopt Multilateralism to Reshape the Financial System. This article is talking about the importance of reducing dependence on US dollar for international exchange through multilateral financial cooperation. So let us discuss more about the de-dollarization in this background. So before moving into the discussion, we have a mains question related to this. Discuss the implications of de-dollarization on global trade and finance. How might this shift affect emerging economies? So we will try to answer the question from our discussion. So without much delay, let's get into our discussion. First, we'll start with the basic question. What is de-dollarization? De-dollarization is a process in which the country is reducing reliance on the US dollar for international exchange. We know that at present the US dollar is considered as a standard currency for international exchange. But de-dollarization, through this process, the countries will reduce their reliance on the US dollar for exchange, and that can be done through diversifying into other currencies such as euro, yen, and yuan. And this also includes the promotion of local currencies in international trade. And the ultimate objective of the de-dollarization is to reduce the risk associated with the dollar fluctuation. For example, we are using the dollar for international transaction. Suddenly, if there is a fall in the dollar value, definitely it will affect our transaction in the global level. So mitigating this is the ultimate objective of the de-dollarization. So let us discuss what will be the advantages of it. The first major advantage of de-dollarization is economic stability. Like I said, the US may change their monetary policy for their internal stability or for stabilizing their economy within the US, but using the currency as an international standard will affect other countries' trade relation, and it will make them vulnerable to inflation and financial instability. And the second major advantage of de-dollarization will be lower financial risk. That is, if there is a sudden change in the US dollar value, a sudden fall in the US dollar value, then definitely it will impact the countries which are having US dollar as foreign reserve. It will bring financial crisis to that particular country. So therefore, through adopting the process of de-dollarization, the economies will be less vulnerable to the US dollar fluctuation. And then we have stronger local currency. That is, through de-dollarization, we can enhance the strength of local currency. It will boost the confidence among the traders, and at the same time, it will bring an economic independence standard for that particular country in the international as well as in the regional level. The next major advantage is greater financial control. That is, through de-dollarization, the countries will have more control over their economy. That means after de-dollarization, they no longer need to consider the fluctuations in the dollar value anymore that much. Therefore, it will enable the countries to bring tailored economic policies which are much more suitable to solve the economic problems within their country. And the last major advantage is protection from sanctions. And this will reduce the political vulnerability, and this will reduce the vulnerability to the political and economic pressure from US. That is, if they are imposing sanctions on particular country, if that country is also using dollar, then that country will suffer economic instability. But if you are going for de-dollarization, will have independent decision on their international matters, as well as they will have more freedom to take decisions in their political as well as economic reform. So the last major advantage is protection from sanctions. Now we are going to see the certain disadvantages of de-dollarization. The first major disadvantage is high transition cost. cost. For example, after de-dollarization, a country needs to form a new financial system that includes new payment network and banking system and other digital facilities, and that needs more investment, and this will be very difficult for developing nations. And the next major disadvantage is exchange rate volatility. The nations are using dollar because the dollar is somewhat relatively stable, but if you are going for de-dollarization, certain countries will experience frequent fluctuations in their currency value, and this will make the import more costly in that particular nation, especially in the case of developing and underdeveloped nations. The next major disadvantage is limited global acceptance. The US dollar is used for international exchange because it is widely accepted and trusted, but other countries' currencies may not have the similar trust and acceptance. So this will be the another major disadvantage of de-dollarization. And the next major disadvantage is increased currency risk. That is depending on other countries, especially less established countries, will increase the risk of inflation, and it will eventually lead to increased price of goods and services, and it will also affect the business planning in that particular nation. Therefore, increased currency risk is another major disadvantage of de-dollarization. And the last major disadvantage is coordination challenges. That is, to have a trade in local currencies, it needs a large cooperation between many nations, and therefore we have to sign a lot of agreements, we have to come to a common standards, and it is very difficult, and that needs a real diplomatic solution. So these are the major disadvantages of de-dollarization. So in this topic, we discussed what is de-dollarization, what will be the advantage and disadvantage, and now we are going to see what can be done to promote our local currency, especially the Indian rupee. The first major step can be promoting the local currency trade. For example, India can sign bilateral agreements with Russia, UAE to carry on trade in the local currencies, especially the bilateral trade. And the next step can be engaging in currency swapping agreements. Through these agreements, the nations can use their local currencies for bilateral exchange without involving dollar. And the next step can be encouraging Indian rupee based trading settlement. That is, the Reserve Bank of India can promote the Indian rupee as an option of settlement of issues related to trade, and this will make the rupee transactions more attractive, and it will also bring trust to the Indian rupee in the global scenario. And the next step can be developing digital rupee, and this will enable faster, cheaper and secured cross-border payment. Finally, we have increasing rupee denominated investments, and this will attract foreign investments in rupee assets. So these are the steps that can be taken to promote the local currency, particularly the Indian rupee. So in this topic, we discussed what is de-dollarization, what are the advantages and disadvantages, and what can be done to promote the local currency. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's editorial analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button and give your feedback as comment, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates. Thank you. Have a nice day.